All right, let's get right into this one. Today, we're looking at the tragic and just deeply mysterious case of Tiffany Valiante. She was an 18-year-old whose death back in 2015 on a set of train tracks in New Jersey has left behind so many more questions than answers. And that really brings us to the absolute heart of the matter. The official ruling? It was suicide. But her family, they have never, ever believed it. They point to this trail of really baffling evidence that suggests something much darker, much more sinister may have happened that night. So to really understand this whole conflict, we've got to start with the facts, the things that nobody disputes. Let's piece together the last known hours of Tiffany Valiante's life. On that summer night, a New Jersey transit train, going nearly 80 miles an hour, struck Tiffany. The scene was, as you can imagine, absolutely horrific, and the trauma was so severe that authorities drew a conclusion very, very quickly. I mean, just days later, they felt they had their answer. Now, what's so wild about this timeline is just how dramatically the evening turned. I mean, one minute, Tiffany's at a graduation party, she's excited, she's talking about her volleyball scholarship and college plans. The next, she's in the middle of a tense confrontation over a friend's debit card. And right after that argument is over, a deer cam catches a glimpse of her just walking away from her home. And then, poof, for over an hour and a half, she's just gone, only to reappear in that final, tragic moment on the tracks. So let's dig into the official investigation and see how they built their case. Based on just a few key pieces of information, the authorities quickly put together a story of what they were sure happened. And that story ended with this ruling right here. The medical examiner declared Tiffany's death a suicide, just 6 days after the incident. For the investigators, this was pretty much an open and shut case. So let's break down why they came to that conclusion so fast. Well, the train engineer's statement was huge. He said she seemed to dart or jump right onto the tracks. They also pointed to that really emotional fight over the debit card as a possible trigger. They brought up a past incident of her taking money and some descriptions from friends who called her lonely or distant. There were even some claims that she had engaged in self-harm in the past, though it's really important to note her parents flat out deny this. But that official story, that's exactly where the family's fight for answers really begins. They argue that the physical evidence left behind, well, it just doesn't fit the suicide theory at all. And this is where their argument gets so compelling. Just think about this for a second. Why would someone walk for miles in the dark, barefoot, only to take off their new shoes and leave them neatly lined up over a mile from their house? Why would she leave her cell phone, something everybody said she never went anywhere without, just sitting at the end of her own driveway? And then you've got the police dog, which followed this meandering 3-mile path from her home all the way to the scene. It just doesn't add up. You know, a former medical examiner consulting for the family, a Dr. Donald Jason, he basically said what they were all thinking. He theorized that a quick suicide ruling was convenient, especially for the transit authority, because, well, it pretty much gets them off the hook from any potential liability. And this deep skepticism is only made worse by some really serious allegations that the initial investigation was just mishandled, right from the start, potentially losing crucial evidence forever. I mean, according to the family, the whole process was undermined by these huge missteps. The engineers on the train gave conflicting reports, and nobody seemed to reconcile them. And get this, an axe with red markings on it, was found near the scene and was then reportedly lost, just gone. On top of that, other evidence was stored so poorly that it can't ever be tested for DNA, basically closing the door on some potentially vital clues. All of this, it just leaves us with this central, haunting question that goes way beyond the evidence. Who really was Tiffany Valiante in her final days? And this is the ambiguity that's just right at the heart of this case. On one hand, you have a college-bound athlete with a scholarship, she's making plans for the future, and she explicitly told a therapist she wasn't depressed or suicidal. But on the other hand, you have these reports of a lonely teen, family squabbles, and that big confrontation over money right before she vanished. These two portraits are just incredibly difficult to reconcile. And you know, this fight for answers has come at a huge personal cost. To this day, the Valiante family has spent thousands and thousands of their own dollars on private investigations and legal fees, all in a desperate effort to get the official manner of death changed from suicide to undetermined. And so we're left staring at the very same question that has to be haunting her family every single day. Was Tiffany's death a desperate act in a moment of crisis? Or was she the victim of something far more sinister, with a flawed investigation erasing any real chance of ever finding the truth? What really happened to Tiffany Valiante?
on that dark stretch of track remains a painful and deeply, deeply unsolved mystery.